I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on. Item 3 on the agenda for tonight is City Council selecting finalists to interview for the City Administrator, Clerk, Treasurer position. Information provided to the City Council members by DDA Consultant / confidential information. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Lisa, who has joined us via Team Meets tonight. So Lisa?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for your flexibility in allowing me to team in on this process. So, as you had mentioned, the information that was shared with you all last week is considered private or non-public information. So, when we are making our selections today, we will refer to the candidates by their assigned numbers. We don't want to use obviously names, but we also want to be very careful about not using identifying characteristics like where they may be currently working or where they live. But before we get into our selection process, does anybody have any questions?
Council members, any questions for Lisa?
This is Tom Lillahei. Could you explain a little bit about the psychometrics evaluation form or how that works?
Sure, you bet. I've taken it myself, so it is just a series of questions. You rate yourself on a scale and where you think you fall, and then at the end, it gives you the results that you have seen. Now, it asks similar questions over and over again in hopes of trying to make sure that the person is answering honestly and through that feedback. But it is only meant to just provide a little snapshot of perhaps how they may fit into your organization. It's not meant to be, taken, concrete. So that is why you didn't find that section in your, the rating form that I sent you. I didn't include it in there. So it's just meant to either complement the things that you have seen already in their submittal items, or maybe it would, bring something new to light as well.
I guess the way I want to phrase it is there validity to it? In other words, has this been bounced against, like, take for example the MMPI, that's been validated and it seems to be very representative. How close to this to actuality is this? How many questions are involved? Let's start with that.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's been a little while since I've taken it myself. I think there's between 80 and 100 questions. And I guess in my mind, it reminded me very much of like the Strength Finders test. So it really is meant to show where your strengths lie. But again, you really the candidate has to answer, honestly. So I don't know how to answer your question regarding whether it's a valid test. It's something that we've been using our entire process. And I think sometimes you can see where somebody may be pulling smoke over your eyes and the answers look too good to be true. But no, I think.
And again, that's where I was coming from was, sometimes you can see things on the rail. Somebody will be getting something very, very low throughout, or somebody would be getting something very, very high throughout, which may lead you down the wrong path. Okay.
Hence why we don't include it on the grading worksheet that I sent you.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? No further questions.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, if I was standing in the room with you, I would be passing out a ballot right now. So you've done the work at home. So I guess instead of using the ballot system, I will just ask each of you we'll go around the room and ask you to name your top 4 assigned number candidates. I will take tally here, and then I will relay the results back. It helps us identify those that rise to the top, those that you're excited as a whole to meet face to face, and then those that don't receive any votes, we're not even going to talk about them. And then after we tally the votes, then we'll determine how many you want to officially invite to City Hall. So I guess, does anybody want to take a start? I did receive votes from Councilmember Maroney, so I can certainly start with him if that makes sense.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah?
Yes, why don't we go ahead and start with Councilmember Maroney's?
Okay, wonderful. So he placed a vote for 6 candidates, but I'm only going to read the top 4. I have a vote for candidate number 2. I have a vote for candidate number 8, a vote for candidate number 10, and a vote for candidate number 7. So it's 2, 8, 10, and 7.
Okay,
Ready for the next.
all right, I'll go ahead and start. So mine are 1, 10, 4, 6.
Wonderful. I have 1, 4, 6, and 10. I know that's not the order you gave it to me in, but
Yep.
Okay, I'll go next. This is Tom. I had 1, 10, 6, and 4.
right. I have 1, 4, 6, and 10.
I can go. This is Rebecca. I had 1, 3, 4, and 10.
I was 1, 3, 4, and 10.
Okay.
Gary Bakken, yours truly. Nice to see you this evening.
Nice to see you.
Short and sweet, 1 and 10. The rest did not qualify for the position.
Okay, so I had a vote for 1 and 10.
Correct.
All right, so if we tally the votes, candidate number 1 has 4 votes, candidate number 2 has 1 vote, candidate number 3, 1 vote, candidate number 4, 3 votes, no votes for candidate 5, 2 votes for candidate number 6, 1 for candidate number 7, 1 for candidate number 8, no votes for 9, and then I have 5 votes for candidate number 10. All right, so your top vote catchers are candidates number 1, 5, I'm sorry, 1, 10, and candidate number 4. They have 4, 3, and 5 votes. And then your next would be candidate number 6 with 2 votes. The rest either have 1 or 0 votes. So I guess just to start the conversation, your 4 top vote catchers are those the ones that you want to extend invitations to meet face to face. And the discussion can go either way. Maybe you want to reduce that number, or maybe there's candidates that received 1 vote that maybe you want to extend an invitation out, opening up your group to 5 or 6 candidates.
Well, I'll start off just to make the first comment. I think with the fact that sometimes candidates can be, they may decline, they may have something else that comes up. The idea of going with maybe 4 is more prudent rather than going with 3. But that's just my comments. I would probably be more comfortable with going with 4 rather than 3, but if at the end of the day, the rest of the council says 3, I can live with that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Number 6 would have been, my number 5.
Okay.
Or I mean,
Sure.
excuse me, like 4, 5 on the list.
Yep.
So
Yep. So right below your top 4 then?
Yeah.
Okay. So you would be comfortable with them in being
Yep.
included? Okay.
yeah.
Tom?
Comments from you, Tom?
No, you and I had exactly the same
I know.
candidates.
I'm the last one.
Yes.
I'll say, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. None
Okay.
of the others were qualified, 1 or 10,
Okay.
to assume this burden that's coming down the road.
Are you okay if we added the other 2? to
Add all you wish, certainly,
All right.
but I
Yeah.
want to caveat, none of those individuals have the experience 1 and 10 have. Not one.
Understood. Okay. Well, Michael's not here, but I would think that he would probably be comfortable with what we've come to. So I would say that our direction then, Lisa, is to go forward with those four to allow an invite to them for an interview for us.
All right, wonderful. I will contact each of the 10 semifinalists and let them know where they are at in the process, whether they're moving forward or at this time they will not be moving forward. Also have a few assignments for them to start working on in order to prepare for interview day on March 1st. All right, so speaking of your interview day, I did receive feedback from you the last time we met on some of the things that you were interested in doing as part of your activities on interview day. So I did put together a draft of what the day could look like. I'm looking for feedback there. Obviously, I made room for up to 5 candidates, so I'll modify the schedule accordingly. But are there any changes or anything that you'd like to do different?
I didn't have any when I looked at it originally. I don't know if any of the other council members had any changes. I felt comfortable with the way the schedule was laid out. So a clarification, just so I'm on the same page, are we still looking at us doing our interviews on the 15th, or did I hear the 1st now?
Oh my goodness. Let me,
Because
maybe I
I
made
thought
an
our original
error on my
timeline
end.
was the 15th, but I could be wrong.
And I could very well be wrong. I apologize. You are correct. It is March 15th. So
Thank you. Yes. When I originally saw that on there, I went, well, I'll ask when the opportunity comes.
yes, March 15th.
Okay.
And so, yes, everybody would be participating on that day.
Okay, great, excellent. I don't have any other further questions unless, I don't think any of the other council at this point have any other further questions either. So we're comfortable with the schedule you've got laid out. And we'll wait to hear further from you.
Sounds wonderful. All right, next question is on whether this council wishes to provide a travel reimbursement for your candidates. Each city treats this very differently. You do, out of your finalists here, you do have 3 out of the 4 coming further than 150 miles away. So just for your consideration. If the answer is no, no travel reimbursement, that's simply what it is. If it's yes, then there are a couple different options that I've seen various councils take a peek at. But I guess, what are your thoughts?
Anybody want to go first?
I think it's only fair to
Yeah.
have them get reimbursement.
Yes.
Because obviously we're inviting them here.
Yep.
We should be, paying their expenses.
Agreed.
Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. I think we're all in agreement that yes, some type of a reimbursement.
Okay, so I've seen cities where they've provided, whether it's just a straight stipend, maybe it's just simply a mileage reimbursement up to a certain amount. Perhaps it is none of the above and it's just a overnight stay at the hotel and we have lunch that's included here, so you're providing them with a meal and you reimburse them for their overnight stay. So those are just some of the options that I have seen, and not sure if you have a history of this, what you've done in the past, or what speaks to you.
No, but one is coming a long way. And therefore, I would, gotta comp the travel and the stay, in my opinion.
Well, in the past, what we have done,
What's past practice?
we had one candidate that came from, I think it was New Mexico or something like that, in our last go-around, and we paid the airfare and her landed expenses here, if I remember right. Which, for a person coming from way out of town, that makes sense, and for a person coming from not too far away that they can drive themselves, then we would pay mileage and as well as the lodging while they were here.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think what I'm hearing from the council, Lisa, is that we would pay mileage. We'd pay for a night's lodging. And if there was airfare that needed to be used for the candidate to be able to get here, we would also reimburse that as well. Am I hearing the council sound in agreement with that? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think that's where we're at with that.
Okay. With airfare, I see cities usually dictate its coach class, and then with the lodging, are you specific as to where they stay? Is it a requirement that they stay within your city, or I guess what's your feeling on that?
I think it would be nice to see them stay within our city.
I
Ultimately,
agree.
if they're coming to interview for a position here within the city, it would be nice to see them utilize the amenities that we have within our city. So I guess I would say yes. I would like to see them stay within the city.
I
Okay.
second that.
Wonderful. All right, I've taken note. And then I will
guys
ask
take
them
care.
to, I'll ask them to retain receipts so that they can submit that for reimbursement.
Yes, please.
All right, well, those were the discussion items I had for you. I will still continue to provide a weekly update so you know where we are sitting and give you gentle reminders to set aside time that week before your March 15th interview so you have time to again peruse their backgrounding information. So if there's no more questions, that's all I have.
I don't think we have any further questions except to say thank you for your work on this. We appreciate your efforts and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
I just have one comment. I thought the format that was presented to us with the little video snippets
Yeah.
and the how it was organized was absolutely fantastic. It made it very
good.
easy to go through. That was very
Agreed.
yeah,
Well done.
That was very
agree.
well done.
Yes, thank you.
So, thank you much.
Wonderful. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye
Good
now.
night, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
good night. All right, moving on to item 4 in the agenda. Review, discuss, recommend fire service contract alternatives. And there's 4A, 4B, and 4C. 4A is modified current contract with the City of Pequot Lakes. 4B is joint powers agreement with the City of Pequot Lakes. And 4C is fire service contract with the City of Nisswa. So I listed them all off at once because I think it's all encapsulating. I'm going to ask Patrick to kind of give me an assist here, but I'm going to start off by trying to give the council an overview. This has been a process that's taken a while, but I think we've arrived at a point now where we've been able to give the council information to help move us in the direction that we feel that we best need to go in. And I'm not going to get into all the details, but I'm going to really focus on the 3 different options. And so if we look at option 1 is to continue to work with the City of Pequot Lakes using the existing contract with a modified formula. Now, the formula, the biggest change to the formula is the reduction of the fire relief contribution. So in the past, it was a 0.01 that was given as a part of our contract payment to the city to help cover that. This year, that was reduced by 50%, so it became a 0.005. And so as a result of that, if we look at the numbers, what it did is it reduced what we would have had our current contract, which is $101,916.54, down to $91,000 for 22-23. So that would be the contract if we were to stay with what we have. That would be the contract we would sign this year, coming up very soon. And you can see there's a breakdown of what the City of Pequot Lakes would be, and then the other ones as well. There is a note that the contract numbers have to be verified because the data for the 8 communities that were listed has not been provided. So those are the ones below. Please note also, the City of Pequot Lakes has started. They will add $20,000 to a capital improvement plan starting this year as a part of their piece with this overall. So this basically is the existing contract we have with the change of a reduction in the amount that we would give to the Fire Relief Association, going from going to that 0.05. And then the other change gets 0.005.
You might want to introduce so everybody knows who's in the audience.
Yes, so we do have the mayor of Pequot Lakes as well as the city administrator of Pequot Lakes who have come to attend the meeting tonight as well. So, and I would ask that as we go through the process, if you would like to make a comment, feel free to come forward to state who you are, and you're more than happy to be able to do that as we go through the process. So, and thanks for coming tonight. We appreciate it. So that's the current existing contract. So that's option one.
Option one.
Yes.
The contribution to the capital improvement program, is that 20,000 an annual figure, or is that a one-time shot?
I believe that they're deciding that it will be an annual figure moving forward with the city of Pequot Lakes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Starting this coming year, this coming contract. Any other questions on this option before I move to the second? Yes.
One simple observation, I'm going to pull a Diane Williams. The second paragraph, first sentence to the right, uses correct contact or contract.
Contract language. It's contract.
Thank
Yep.
you. Just wanted to make sure that that's noted.
Nope, contract language. Thank you for the catch.
First time.
Yeah, when you look at documents a million times, words all run together.
I do it all the time.
Because I've looked at this one a ton too, so.
Got it.
All right, so that's option one. Option two then is also with the city of Pequot Lakes, but would be to enter into a joint powers agreement where the city of Breezy Point and the city of Pequot Lakes would create a joint ownership of the fire department and provide services to the existing contract entities. So basically, that would mean Pequot and Breezy Point would enter into an agreement where they would oversee the fire department jointly together, have joint ownership in it. And then the other organizations that are currently under contract would be contracted underneath that joint powers agreement and any other future contractual agreements that would be reached with other entities in the area. And so again, there's a few things in here. It's basically the same formula that is being used in the current contract would be used in the joint powers. And so that formula, and Patrick, help me with this as I get into this formula as regards to what the formula is used to determine the pricing for the contract. So basically right now, the formula is set on.
Use and market value.
Correct. Okay, so use and market value is how we determine what is the amount that's paid in. And that would be the same formula used in the joint powers agreement as well. Okay, so that would not change.
There would be the change that Breezy Point would be agreeing to the CIP contribution equal
Yes.
to what
Yep.
Pequot is contributing.
Yep, so we would then also do a 20,000 into the capital improvement plan, starting at the signing of the joint powers agreement, and that would happen every year moving forward to help build that capital improvement plan. Also, the reduction in the Fire Relief Association, that would also cross over into the joint powers as well. So that would be that .005 instead of the .1, I believe it is.
Yep, that's correct. As written, the CIP contribution is a minimum of $20,000 each. That can be modified either up or down, but the idea was through the discussions that the CIP would not be subject to the formula as written.
Correct. Yeah. So that would be based, and that could be raised or lowered based on what the Joint Powers Board would determine as they move forward in following years. It also talks about that it identifies in the joint powers that both cities will have space dedicated for the fire department equipment, office space, training, and exercise purposes. These spaces will be written out and identified as being rented for $1. It is also recognized that the existing fire trucks and equipment will be rented for $1. The joint powers agreement spells out ownership of purchased equipment after the agreement is executed. But if the fire department disbands from being a joint powers, there's a depreciation scale over 10 years that will allow the city of Pequot Lakes to be reimbursed. So that means that within the first 10 years, if the joint powers agreement were to be, we disbanded for some reason and no longer did that, then Pequot Lakes would be owed a reimbursement on that value of that equipment that they hold in ownership at this point. Is that clear? Is everybody understanding that? Okay. And just jump in if you have questions. There's also a language that allows the joint powers to contract with other communities to provide fire services. It also identifies the process for other communities to join the joint powers and to also separate from the joint powers in the future. So there is a potential that in the future, if this were to continue, that if another community came to us and said they'd like to enter into it with us and now it becomes maybe a trifecta, there is an opportunity for that to happen, as well as others to move away from it at different times too. So there is that language included in there as well. Additional expenses that have to be kept in mind is that a fiscal agent. So there will need to be a fiscal agent for the joint powers, and it would be we identified as $5,000. It's spelled out the fiscal agent would be Pequot Lakes. They have that currently, and so they would be that fiscal agent. But the cost would be in there to help. So that cost would be split between us to be able to pay for that. And then, so basically, those are the highlights of the joint powers. There's other language in there as well, but that's all, it's all pretty standard language of joint powers. One thing I will point out is that there would be a board, okay, that would be formed then. It'd be a joint powers board. It would be made up of, and help me if I get this right, it's the mayor of each community plus one council member plus a member from the community, I believe. And then the city administrators and the acting fire chief would serve as resources to that board. And the board would then meet, I think it's,
Initially, it's once a month for the first year, and then it goes to quarterly after that, but
There we go.
it's what's deemed necessary by the board.
correct.
The board would be created prior to the enactment of the joint powers, so conceivably, you would say it would start May 1st as the board. There's a variety of policies that have to be adopted, and then the actual power of the authority would happen theoretically July 1st or something like that, 2 months later.
The other piece I did want to mention too, and I had it in here, and was also insurance expenses. So that would be another thing that would be looked at as a part of the joint powers. And we have checked into it with the Minnesota League of Cities as well about information there, and we would need a separate insurance to cover that because it's a joint powers and it's between both cities. So existing insurance would not be able to be used with that. So it'd have to have its own separate insurance to be able to do that. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, yeah, so there would be an added cost of the fiscal agent expenses. Yeah, they would not be borne by the city of Pequot Lakes, but split out in the Joint Powers Fire Department. So as I mentioned, whatever that cost of the fiscal agent is, that would be split between the cities. It would be split between Pequot Lakes as well as Breezy Point. And then I would note that the city attorney has not reviewed option 2 or 3 because we are not sure of which direction the council wants to go. So in other words, this option, the joint powers, and option 3, which is going to be the next one I'm going to talk to, have not been reviewed by the attorney. We felt that it was best to be able to have them reviewed once the decision was made by the council to move forward. And of course, that's standard. They need to look it over, make sure it all meets all the guidelines and everything is being, met with regards to that. But after tonight's meeting, the city attorney will be asked to review or comment if either of these two are chosen.
Just for
Yep.
my benefit, is the idea to be able to choose one of these options and have it executed before the end of the existing contract?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it
Okay.
is. Yep.
okay.
And that's the purpose for the timeline we're going, that's why we actually brought it tonight too, because of timelines with city council meetings, Pequot Lakes' upcoming city council meetings as well as ours. So to kind of keep that flowing. Plus, we're reaching towards the end of our contract where we are going to have to enter into some type of contract moving forward. So that's kind of where that falls into. Any other questions before I move on to option 3? Okay, moving on to option 3. This would be entering into an agreement with the city of Nisswa for fire services. It's a 2-year agreement. Of course, the attached contract, which is you got in your packet, basically is based upon the contract they currently use for a portion of the city of Pequot Lakes, city of Lakeshore, Lake Edwards Township, and Pelican Township. They did write up a separate agreement for just the city of Breezy Point, and They are proposing to charge the city of Breezy Point a similar amount as the city of Lake Shore because Breezy Point and Lake Shore have a similar market value. Their fire service contracts are all based upon a formula of market value instead of market value and use, which is what we currently have. And just to point out, there's many different contracts that are used throughout the state with regards to what formulas are used. So there's not one standard formula out there that's used across the board. And so that's why you see the difference there. Basically, what it would be is the contract would be for $80,000, and the amount would be $75,000 would go towards their capital improvement plan, and $5,000 would go towards their fire relief association. So it's very straightforward with regards to where the money goes to as far as that contract. And the contract spells out what that relief association piece is, and then also the capital improvement plan. One thing to point out is that the ISO rating, fire rating for the city of Breezy Point would not change if fire service is contracted through the city of Nisswa. The fire chief from Nisswa contacted ISO and confirmed that the city of Breezy Point has a fire station, and Nisswa would be placing a pumper truck in it if we were to contract out with them, that our fire rating would not change. So I know that was a big question that was brought up earlier about the change of the ISO rating. Would it change? And it would not at this point based on those findings. And then if you looked at the bottom, there was a map provided of fire station locations throughout Crow Wing County. So really you have option A, B, or C. And ultimately, the council needs to make a determination of what direction they want to go with, because that's going to kick into gear what we do as far as what gets reviewed and what's going to come before the council for actual final approval. So comments, questions, concerns?
If I were to pick one right now, I'd be going with option 2 because I think that's the best one. I do know that the capital improvement program that Pequot has right now is in need of money, and having both of us putting in $20,000 a year can really help that out. It seems like it's the best way to go based on all three of them.
Okay, so thank you. Any other comments from council?
I mean, I think there's value in number 2, just because I think, 3 is similar to 1 in that there's really no ownership there. So if you look at it from that perspective, number 2 is appealing to me as well, even though it's maybe a little bit more expensive for the city, just because there is sort of that joint powers agreement in place. I guess I'd be interested in, I know you've had a lot more conversations than I, have been privy to, the administrator as well, so I guess I'd be interested in kind of your opinions as well. But
Yeah, definitely.
Concur option 2. Best one. Thanks for the work everybody put into that.
Well, my feedback on it is yeah, we spend a lot of time looking at a lot of different things. The joint powers agreement gives us that opportunity to have ownership. You made the comment about, maybe it being a little more, but ultimately if we stayed with the current contract with Pequot, or if we went with Nisswa, the cost is going to go up. It's just it's going to go up. Those costs are going to continue to increase. With doing a joint powers agreement, it does. It allows us to put into a capital improvement plan and help with that process. It's one of the things that I saw in the original when I first got into this, was that we need to make sure that the equipment that's being used to service our citizens here in the city of Breezy Point is the best that we can provide. And if we can be putting into that and providing for that, I think that's a good thing. In addition, it does gives us the opportunity to work directly with Pequot with regarding the oversight of the fire department. We're a joint powers board. We would be working together. I look at it from the sense of a larger community too. That's a good thing, to work together as a larger community. It isn't just about Breezy Point, or it isn't just about Pequot Lakes, or whatever the other entities of here. We're all part of a greater community. And if we can provide the service together and work together as a joint entity, I don't see how the citizens from either Pequot or Breezy are going to lose from that. I think in addition, it's important to point out that, quite honestly, there's quite a few firefighters from Pequot Lakes that live right here in Breezy Point. And we know that. but I think that's important to think about too. So we're continuing to support the community that way as well. So again, I think it is the best direction to go. I think ultimately we have the ability to work with Pequot Lakes as we move forward, as things come up. Now it's just not on them, it's on us working with them together, jointly, or vice versa, to make sure that then we're solving those problems for the benefit of the citizens of both communities, which, hey, let's face it, we know that they intermix all the time. Breezy Point citizens and Pequot citizens as well. So, yeah, I think it's and as a side, while he's not here tonight, I do want to point out that Councilmember Maroney did let me know that he was in favor of JPA as well, and moving in that direction. So ultimately, I think that's our best direction. I think that's the direction we need to go. What I would like to do is have a motion so that we can, Patrick, would you like to add something before we go that route?
Just part of the discussion. I would.
Go ahead, fire.
I noticed when we got to the contracts, I want to point out that the market value for the contract with Pequot
Yes.
is based upon building market value, where the contract with Nisswa is total market value. So there's a little bit of difference there.
That's
When
right.
we look at the
Correct.
numbers.
Thank you.
And you'll see that when we do the formula every year.
Yes.
As we
You
have
are
been doing.
correct on that.
The other part of it is, I definitely appreciate the mayor and the city administrator from Pequot attending our meeting. We informed them that we were planning on attending their first meeting in March, so that there's no miscommunication depending on what articles are in the newspaper kind of thing. We want to hear it directly from us, and we appreciate their being here, input or not, but I think that lends credence towards the working relationship that's being built here.
Absolutely, and I would echo what Patrick stated. We'll be going to the council meeting for Pequot on March 1st, I believe. Would you like to address the council?
I just have one thing to
Come
add,
forward, Mayor.
which maybe is irrelevant at this point.
Just state your name, please.
Tyler Gardner,
Thank
Pequot
you.
Lakes Mayor. The contract deadline, that you're supposed to give 12 months' notice.
Yes.
Our council did discuss extending the notice, or waiving the notice if it takes a little longer for you guys to make a decision. So
Thank you.
that's all I wanted to add.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor Gardner.
But I do believe that, what I'm hearing is that you're going to recommend option number 2.
Yes.
And hopefully we can we'll relay that to Pequot Lakes, but until we see all the lines filled in and the exact
Right.
formula numbers, I wouldn't be able to recommend, and I think Todd and I agree that we wouldn't be able to recommend anything until we see that in actual writing and how that works out. And hopefully that could be done by their meeting on March 1st and our meeting on March 8th the following week. So in theory, they would adopt what we've recommended, or the city council here has recommended, and then we would support that with the adoption the following week.
Correct. Yes, and that would be and basically, all I would like tonight is just a motion that we're recommending option 2. That doesn't say that that's not our final vote. We're gonna have to see a final contract with all the i's dotted and the t's crossed and the proper stuff in place. We need to have our attorney review it as well, so that has to go through that process too. And then it allows, by doing this, I think then it allows Pequot to know as they move forward that the city of Breezy Point is in favor of moving forward with the joint powers agreement. And that's kind of where I see that motion for a recommendation to move with option. I think it puts it out there and lets them know, hey, this is where we're at. We're committed to working through this with them on that process. So,
Okay, so I'll make a motion to explore to further explore the option 2.
okay.
Second?
So I have a first from Councilmember Lillahei. I have a second from Councilmember Bakken to further explore option 2 of entering into a joint powers agreement with the city of Pequot Lakes for fire service, for fire department. Any other further discussion?
One observation, I like the idea of option 2 about the board.
Yeah.
I like that very much.
Yeah, well, it's important to have, we need to have that.
Yes, sir.
That way, there's joint decisions being made on all things going forward, and that is then the people that can come back and report. And one thing to note too is that at times, the Joint Powers Board is going to be making recommendations back to the city councils, and then the city council will be voting. So you still have, there'll be some say with regards to the council on those levels. So just to let everybody know, that's kind of how that's going to work too. So there'll be some of those things that the council will have an opportunity to be able to say, yep, we back that recommendation. So, all right. Without hearing any further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 One last thing then, sir,
Opposed? Opposed?
doing your formalities, yes.
Abstentions? Motion carries.
I can't remember if you told me that you were going to write the letter to Nisswa, thanking them for this excellent experience and working with them was well learned, if I was going to write that or if you were going to write that.
I will put a draft together and probably run it by you to just make sure I got all my words spelled right. Yes, but I will draft a letter and put it together and get it off to you, Patrick, so we can send it out to them. Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to thank public. I want to thank Nisswa. I want to thank Pequot. I want to thank the entities that have worked with us on this. This has been a long process, arduous at times for sure, but I think we're getting the light, as they say, is coming at the end of the tunnel, and I think it's a positive thing. So,
The
again,
last point was, we did note from Pequot, they did pull their firefighters, and they were in favor of the joint powers agreement. Every one of the current firefighters is in favor of it.
great. It's good to know. Excellent.
That's why 3 of them are retiring.
All right. So moving on, last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? A motion from Councilmember Bakken. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Ball. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Meeting is adjourned.